I really believe that we have two big challenges as a global maritime community, but also as a Greek maritime community. The first one is the green transition, decarbonization, and the second one is the shortages of the seafarers and reskilling and upskilling of them. As a EU member state, but also as a very important country inside the IMO's activities, we do our best in order to see all stakeholders together for this dimension. And we really believe that our role to be a bridge between IMO and EU institutions is very important, but also is very important to see together how we can go all stakeholders together to this dimension and to be realistic, not only radical in this decarbonizing very important way.
Greek shipping has been very adaptable in general, and this is one of our greatest strengths. So we're adapting to the new regulations. We're using mainly relatively, modern ships and best practice. And really we focus on how we can give our best returns to our shareholders. And that's quite a clear path, and it simplifies your decisions quite a lot. Countries and states and organizations will determine the rules that we have to follow. And that's what we do. We follow the rules in the best possible way, making the best returns we can. I think all anomalies are positive for shipping. And so both these wars have been disastrous, but they have been positive for shipping because they effectively increase demand for ships, and voyages become less efficient, you have to take longer routes, etc. So it's been a positive factor which has accelerated the improvement of the market. So the improvement came a little bit before fundamentals would necessarily justify it. And I expect quite an extreme further improvement, because I think we're reaching a point where actually fundamentals, in other words, the supply of ships, will probably not be adequate for the next couple of years to cover the demand for ships. The conditions are much better than what they were for the seafarers as well. We employ Starlink on our fleet, and this has made a huge improvement in the speed with which the internet allows our seafarers to communicate with their relatives or friends at home. They only stay 3 months, 4 months these days. They used to stay for years when I started shipping. It's better in general. Very interesting, and it's a good thing that we have forums like this where we can discuss and exchange ideas.
I'd like to thank Nick and Olga and the team for our invite to Capital Link. We like to be here in New York. It's always a pleasure to be associated with Capital Link on the panel. So the tanker industry is actually in a new era in terms of supply and demand, in terms of decarbonization. It's we call it in the States a whole new Wild West. And we're taking it step by step. We're involved in a joint venture with Lloyd Register and others to take care of maybe the ships in the water now, to not decarbonize, but bring down the carbon footprint. We also have a new building program. So there is a new way of going forward, but we all have to, we all haven't gone this way before. So we're all in trial and basis era. We don't know what the next fuel is going to be, but we know we have to get there for the benefit of our kids and our grandkids. Because of geopolitical challenges, we feel optimistic, but we wish we were optimistic for other reasons, right? You need to have 4 or 5% world GDP synchronized growth, or you need issues like this. The sanctions and the Houthis have brought on some issues that have really moved the market to another level. Having said that, this needle would not have been moved if you didn't have a very good supply and demand fundamentals going forward. One big factor is all the discovery of natural resources, whether it's oil or dry bulk or grain and bauxite and iron ore, is in the West, and all the demand's in the East. So even if the volumes growth on a yearly basis is below 30, 40-year averages, ton miles will continue to increase as we go forward. So we see that, of course, with the IMO issues keeping the order book low. I would say not artificially low, but it would be almost double this without the IMO regulations. The next few years, just, my elevated speech, as I said on the panel, used to be higher for longer, and now I'm saying higher for even longer. When you diversify your fleet, for example, you have containers, dry and wet, there is a negative correlation between dry and wet, which in the long run allows you to smooth out your risk profile, dampen the volatility. It gives us cross-sector opportunities. We did have separate companies for each sector. And so when the market's down, your balance sheet is stretched, you can't do the investment. We're taking cross-sector opportunities like the money we made in the container side, putting it into new buildings in containers and tankers, and putting these ships out for longer periods, because all of us, including the end receivers or shipping companies, see the same numbers going forward. People are going to need steel, and they're going to want to control steel going forward. The industry has been mostly fragmented around the world, but we're starting to see some initiatives. Maybe here in Athens can be a hub for decarbonization, for collaboration between us and all the supply chain users. So I'm pretty optimistic. Greece has been leading in shipping. Listen, they invented shipping. All apologies to my Scandinavian friends. But I think if anything starts here that will change the world of shipping, it'll start in Athens.
Since the day that I joined the maritime industry back in 2013, I've seen only the progress of the maritime industry. And about us, we are a technology startup company, and we are very proud to see that since the COVID years, there is an evolution in our industry, and I believe that we are now in a new area in the maritime industry, the digitalization area. What made me fall in love with the industry from 2013 onwards was how ambitious all the people in that industry are. So, although digitalization was not part of the agenda back in the days, after COVID, we've seen that all shipping companies are now have very high in their agenda decarbonization and digitalization. So, we've seen shipping companies for the first time, and now more than ever, actually wanting to try new things, wanting to change, let's say, their own status quo, bring solutions that will streamline their processes more, but also find cost-saving opportunities. So, yeah, very optimistic about where the industry is going. Right now, Harbour Lab, from what we know, has one of the biggest return on investment in the maritime tech community, which is 15x, meaning that for every dollar that you give to Harbour Lab, we save you $15. And I believe that this is one of the reasons why we have managed to scale so fast, and in just 2 years from the day that we started introducing our product, we have now more than 1,500 paying vessels, and we save more than $3,000 per port call. What we have done is that we have created some algorithms about how each port expense is being calculated in every port, terminal, and berth around the world. So in the shipping companies, when they nominate the port agents submit their expenses, the algorithms go and match with what the agent submitted, and we highlight to the shipping companies whether they should pay for those expenses or not. And this is how we find the savings for the shipping companies. Capital Link is always the event to be in Posidonia, and it's my second time here, and I feel very, very proud, and kudos and thank you very much to Mr. and Mrs. Bornozzi.
I did ask the panel in terms of the decarbonization journey which the industry is going through, that does the panel see within the next 3 to 5 years a carbon tax coming, right? And I can say that almost everyone said yes. So we are expecting the global shipping industry to get a carbon tax, a global carbon tax within the next 3 to 5 years. That was very interesting for me because the Greek shipping, as you know, is at the forefront of the global shipping, right? And if the Greek ship owners are looking, or rather in terms of acceptance of a global carbon tax, I think the industry will move in that direction. We also talked about the state of the market, so looking at what's happening with the dry bulk market, what's happening with the container market, in particularly with the geopolitics of the world. The Red Sea has been disrupted, container shipping is almost diverted. You also see on the dry bulk side, so we are seeing a bit of geopolitics, which is actually having a positive impact on the shipping industry. the panel was pretty much in sync in terms of the market being much stronger, the supply side being in control, right? So overall, I would say it was optimistic panel. The next few years look good for the shipping industry in particular. I think even at S&P, we remain positive, right? So I think all these disruptions are certainly adding to what we call the ton-mile demand. Ships are spending more time on water, the fleet utilization is higher. Luckily, despite the Chinese macro headwinds, you still have China, particularly on the dry bulk side, having a stronger demand. And then you have a cushion of the supply side, right? The supply growth remains pretty low. So overall, the panel was optimistic, we are optimistic, and it's, as I would say, for now, it looks like good times for shipping will continue. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to be at Posidonia, great to be at Capital Link. I think it was a very good event. I think it's a full house, great panels as well. I had five CEOs on my panel, the first panel and then so on, right? So it's a pleasure being here, and hopefully we'll be back next time as well.
I came from more the panelists, I would say, and I found the discussion very interesting because it shows that there's a lot of proactivity, and also you see the very big differences between companies of similar size in terms of the moves they're making. So in terms of the project, another insight I would say, which I found very interesting, is the extent of collaboration taking place within the industry, and not just within the industry, but with participants outside the industry as well. So we heard a lot about joint ventures with people in the green and fuel tech area. So I found that very interesting, and also that the companies are looking forward very much to see, to prepare themselves for the future and the challenges which will arise in order to meet that journey. There is no alignment between the different companies, and we heard it not just in our panel but the previous one as well, that there are differences in approach between different big companies. So there is no clear direction of travel, but you do see that more and more companies are taking a first step to test to test the new fuels, to order dual fuel ships with these new technologies, and at the same time they are seeking to see where the direction of travel will continue in the future. There's a lot that can be done even outside of fuel in terms of increasing efficiencies, so we heard quite a bit about that. I think, again, based on my previous answer, that there is a big sort of divide between those who think methanol is the way forward, others who believe it's ammonia. We also heard a lot about biofuels as well. So again, it's not entirely clear where we're going, and LNG really remains a transition fuel. I think that's acknowledged by everyone, that it's a transition to the next step, but these other fuels are more likely to be those which will prevail in the future. I think the industry has always thrived at times of geopolitical uncertainty, so disruption is actually something which has helped shipping in the past, and I think we're seeing part of that playing out again right now. I think I am confident there will be challenges, but especially Greek shipping has always found a way to adapt and to keep its market leading position. So I am generally confident. I want first of all to thank Nicolas and Olga and the whole of the Capital Link team for organizing such a great summit and a great conference, and it's a very good way to kick off the Posidonia week.
When you have periods of peace and stability, people tend to forget and consider transportation, seaborne transportation, as a given. But when we get into conflicting situations as we are right now, like wars, like certain restricted areas, like all these other global events that are happening, we tend to realize the great importance of seaborne transportation of raw materials and commodities. So this is where shipping comes into play. Right now we are going through a war, we're going through potential global conflict in many areas. So this is where we need to realize how big and strong having solid transportation and a big, good fleet of ships plays in the global environment. I think the overall matter of decarbonization is kind of overblown, to be honest. First of all, we can make the existing ships much more efficient. We as a company, we have been investing extensively for 10 years now to make our vessels way more efficient as they are. So before we reach the solution of replacing the existing vessels, we have to realize how we can make the existing fleet more and more economical. And we have been successful in that. So the decarbonization target will eventually be met. We're not in favor of all these innovative ways of reinventing the wheel with ammonia, hydrogen, and other fuels that have not been tested. Let's not forget that you have 13,000 dry bulk ships in the water, and you have about 40 to 50,000 ocean-going vessels. So that by itself cannot be replaced, overnight. So we need to be careful when we talk about decarbonization targets, and let's not forget that for per ton transportation work that we offer, the actual emission of carbon is the lowest by far in the global sphere. Throughout my career, I have never experienced another country with the know-how that we have in Greece in shipping. So I've traveled extensively in the Far East, in the Americas, but I have never seen any other nation, especially that small nation, to have this kind of experience in shipping altogether, know-how. I believe what they say, that shipping is in our DNA, is 100% correct. So we do represent the biggest, or one of the biggest shipping nations, and the biggest right now in the commercial basis. And I think that also having access to the global capital markets has helped the growth of the companies as well. We represent two public shipping companies on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, and we have used cautiously the capital that we have raised from the US capital markets to grow our fleet and become a prominent shipping company on a global scale.
IMO has set up various ambitions for 2030 and 2050. Now, alternative fuels is very promising. However, in order to achieve the ambitions of IMO of 2030, we have already calculated, and when I say we, I'm talking about our maritime forecast, which is available publicly, that shipping industry needs to access about 30 to 40% of the available alternative fuel production worldwide. Currently, we are at 3%. So as anybody can understand easily, this is a very, very difficult task to accomplish. So that is mainly the biggest task which shipping industry is facing, and we can actually do something about it by tackling the operational issues we have and go for the low-hanging fruits. One example of that is arriving on time to load or discharge your cargoes. That will save a very big amount of emissions. Lowering the speed will be a derivative of what I have already described. Because when I said that you need to have a better operational logistic profile, meaning arriving on time, that means that you will have eventually to go on a slower speed in order to arrive on time. So the one connects with the other. We passed from a globalization part in our history, and globalization actually made up the most efficient trading routes because everything was open. All the borders were open, everybody could travel freely, etc. Nowadays, we are in a different era. And when you have sanctions, when you close borders, when you put obstacles, you have to find a different route in order to transport the same cargo, which means more ton miles. And at the same time, when we have also the wars which are going on, the countries will have to be rebuilt. And this has to be done again by using shipping. So in that sense, shipping will have a very good future. However, essential things for that is collaboration, because if we want to have really reduced emissions in the future, we need to be all together, we need to exchange information, we have to foster new ideas and foster also the new generation which is coming, which is very promising because they are much more balanced or focusing on balanced life and focusing on sustainability than we were. All of these factors make me really optimistic for the future. I think that was great. The attendance was overwhelming, and I wish all the luck and I wish great success for the future.
The last 2 or 3 years, we're all dealing with the decarbonization, the ways that our operators, our customers, which are the ship owners, will meet the target, the 2030, 2040 and 2050 targets. I have seen that a lot of steps have been taken the last 3 years on the 3 different levels. I've seen that our operators, the ship owners, they are more mature than they were before. They're ready to invest and they're ready to experiment on new technologies towards decarbonization. And then the technology providers, as we are, we have invested a lot of money, time and effort in order to develop sustainable solutions, not only on carbon capture, but direct, but for indirect solutions like energy saving devices, propeller caps, ducts, air lubrication, wind assist and propulsion, etc. And last but not least, we have seen the ship designers and the ship builders, especially those coming from Asia, to start improving their design and implementing technologies which are produced by us in order to be able and deliver more efficient and low carbon vessels. I'm very optimistic. I'm pleased to see that the shipping community is paying its debt towards decarbonization, apart from the fact that the shipping industry is not a heavy pollutant. The CO2 produced by the shipping industry counts not more than 3% of the global CO2 emissions. However, the ship owners, the ship operators and the ship managers have taken this very seriously, and they're investing and they're applying technologies towards these solutions. I think that the Greek shipping industry have been proved throughout the years its adaptability and its resilience. So we've seen the majority, if not all, of the Greek ship owners, they have changed their routes, they have changed the way that they operate the vessels, and they have changed the contracts that they have with their charterers in order to be able and accommodate, first of all, the different routes for transporting LNG and fossil fuels from Russia. And lately we've seen that all those operators have changed the routes in order to avoid the Red Sea and avoid the conflict with the Houthis and give more safety to the passengers, the crew, and of course to the cargo. That is another successful event. I'm honored to participate in Capital Links for the last 6 or 7 years, either in Greece or in Cyprus. And every time, every year, it becomes more successful. The quality of the people, the number of the people, and the quality of the subjects proves that Capital Link, it's always in the forefront of the developments, and it's always a good partner of the ship owners, but also of the technology providers.
Discussed about the future of Greek shipping and where we see Greek shipping being in the next 20 years. Indeed, it's a big part now of the global fleet, and I hope that Greek shipping will continue to lead the way in the next years, because as I said as well in the panel, Greek shipping must remain independent. Independent Greek shipping is good news not only for Greece, but also for the world economy and the stability of the Western world. There are indeed many challenges right now. We have geopolitical challenges. Greek shipping continues to lead the way. There are many things happening, like for example the crisis in Suez or the Russian invasion in Ukraine. As ship owners, we always like free trade. We always like the paths to be open. But the reality is that as Greek ship owners, one of the main advantages we have is that we adapt to change very quickly. So I think that Greek shipping will continue adapting in changes and continue to lead the world, the industry. Every shipping company is different than the other. We look similar, but we are not. Greek ship owners, they have different styles between them, regardless if they're listed or family owned. We see that all of us we try and find ways to be successful by being different. So Greek shipping is fragmented. Maybe we see in the future a bit of consolidation in some sectors where more capital is needed, especially keeping in mind that new technologies, when they will come in the beginning at least, they're not going to be cheap. So we might see that. But generally speaking, I think that Greek shipping will continue being fragmented, and I see it as a strength, not as a disadvantage. I think that consolidation is something that can happen more in listed companies. For individual family companies, which is the vast majority, I would say, of Greek shipping, it's very difficult to achieve that because there are differences in philosophies and differences in mentality. And we see that these companies, they've managed to survive through the years in a very successful manner. So I don't see a reason why that should change in the coming years. Excellent attendance. I see many ship owners inside that they have been very successful the last years, and I'm very happy to see them all, how they participate, how they give their input. They're all very open in their input, and we thank Mr. Bornozis and Ms. Bornozis for organizing this excellent event.
I believe that the most important thing is for shipping, which has always had a very footprint in serving the environment, to continue reducing that footprint. We are the most efficient, environmental friendly and economic way of transporting huge quantities of cargo around the world, but we're still taking measures to even reduce that. Deglobalization just creates more centers of commotion around the world, and shipping, being the artery of the world economy, prefers free seas and no blockades or embargoes. Well, as I said before, I'm all for the long-term open seas. Short-term, right now we are enjoying better rates, but I think long-term we need peace and unification for global trade to succeed and continue. So we might build very high-quality vessels, but if those ships do not have skilled crew, it's like having, a huge Airbus 380 and no one to fly it. And we might be approaching this level if we do not be careful and give, I would say, predominance to the human factor. Well, Greece is in the forefront of world shipping for many years, and I hope it will continue. I see a very enthusiastic, and we saw today, young generation. What really bothers me is the complete lack of seafarers. If you do not have seafarers who have knowledge of the ship, eventually you will lose touch with the asset, and the industry might go the way the British or the Scandinavian industry has gone. We hope to be able to keep some hands on that can kick the tires to make this go forward.
Whenever there is this disruption, we have seen rates going up for all kinds of ships, especially energy-related ships, gas and oil. For tankers especially, we are now at the highest point of the cycle, maybe in the last 20 years. LPG last year was at the highest point of the cycle for the last 20 years. And even containers, what were dropping last year, now after the Gaza attack, are actually up again. So it's a very interesting period of time. All segments are making money, some more, some less. Where we need to be careful is the new building side, where recently a lot of orders have been placed, especially for tankers, LNG carriers and large LPG carriers. So we need to be careful there, because when all these ships do deliver, that might correct the market to more reasonable rate levels. China has been relatively weak recently, which is actually amazing, thinking that we have nearly record day rates at a time when China is not very strong. We're actually bullish for dry because dry has the smallest order book out of the main segments, and rates are relatively good even when China is weak. So if China somewhat recovers, then that will give a big boost, especially for dry bulk day rates. If you think about it, having a country so small like Greece with about 10 million population, having a fleet of nearly as big as China, which is a 2 billion people country and has shipyards, its own cargoes, its own seamen, and we, Greece, without cargoes, without any state help, without shipyards, are still able to compete with such a huge giant, for me is an amazing achievement for us, the Greeks. It's obviously decarbonization because everybody's talking about it, but we have not really found a solution to get to zero carbon. So that's a very big bet. I spoke inside about nuclear. 4 years ago, people were laughing with nuclear. Now they're taking nuclear into serious consideration. So in the next 6, 10, 15 years, maybe that's the greenest and easiest way to get rid of pollution. Green energy is about technology, is about shipyards and engine manufacturers working hard and working together to find a workable green solution. And we're hearing about methanol, we're hearing about ammonia. We're waiting to see which one is going to be the selected and feasible green energy.
I think that the industry is now going into a transformation where ships are becoming more connected to the cloud. Once you have connectivity, you can start uploading data from sensors, you can start deploying advanced technology, advanced AI on board vessels, and really changing how operation is being handled. So I think now more and more ship owners and shipping companies, they understand the benefit and they understand the impact that technology, AI can bring and how it can actually impact their operation. So I think we're in the start of the curve, but it's very interesting to see that it's going and it's actually accelerating as we go. So interesting times in these terms. Artificial intelligence in general, first of all, it needs data in order to have good performance, right? So now when you have connectivity, you can start uploading data, train new models to do certain things. So for example, right, is automate parts of the crew workload, right? So for example, navigating the ship in a more efficient way. Accumulating tremendous amount of data points, million data points together, in real time analyze that and provide an input that will improve either efficiency, either crew workload, safety, and also cost. But now I think the enabler is there, again, because you can uploading data, you can collect data in scale and train models to do more enhanced type of capabilities. So I think shipping in general is very resilient. It's very resilient to events like Black Swan events, right? And we had a few in the last couple of years, and you see how resilient the ship owners, the shipping companies, and the workers inside those companies are actually to those type of events. So I think actually it creates sometimes also the opposite, right? Those type of events are creating supply chain issues, and those supply chain issues actually benefiting the shipping industry because rates are going up. So rates are going up, meaning you have more margins, meaning you have actually more capital to invest in the future. So I think in these terms, the shipping industry is in a very good spot today.
The geopolitical events to date, and it's unfortunate that it's wars, they have had a good result for the ship owners because you have more distances, more ton miles, therefore increased supply, all other things being equal. In the future, it's got to be something like a black swan that can affect it negatively. And that would be so grave that I don't even want to think about it. It would involve the US and China. If it is a war between China and the US and not a trade war, yes, that would affect it totally. If there's nuclear action, yes. But even COVID, which was a big black swan, affected it only temporarily. So if you have the staying power you can use it as an opportunity to reinvest in shipping, because naturally people they lose confidence. So the asset prices go down, and then you can acquire assets. So it's that kind of situation. All these are political decisions. I'm not going to say if I do disagree, because there's not enough knowledge worldwide historically to understand what is the effect on the environment. Yes, the planet is warming, the climate is warming. We're not sure what it causes it. There's lots of theories allowed. We can talk forever. Nobody will know until time has passed. So, the politicians take some decisions and we follow through. I mean, it's like Darwin said in shipping, you have to adapt or die. So we have to adapt because we are carriers of products. I've called this time again taxi drivers. We're glorified taxi drivers. So we have to carry the cargo. The consolidation will not be in the seafarers. It has to be on everything else, because with the regulatory environment, you have to devote people to internally legal, more compliance, more regulatory people. So a small company doesn't have the ability because of the personnel that's involved and the knowledge. So in that sense, bigger companies will fare better, provided they don't lose their fighting spirit. I think Capital Link is a great place to be. You learn a lot if you have attention all the way. Sometimes you need a break. Like, I gave a little bit of information, but in a nice way to wake people up. And I think Nicolas has done a great job. I've known him since 1981. He came to me when we first were public. We were the first dry bulk company to go public. He says, I want to be your IR person. I said, Nico, but you don't know shipping. What are you going to do? I said, fine. And he did it, and then everybody followed in our steps, and they all went all with Capital Link. I'm so glad because he's done a great job.
I think that we have done a lot. We have invested over in the last since 2018. We have invested over $7 billion in new building, new technology, and we hope that when all deliveries will take place, we will make a significant. We'll have significant reductions in emissions, and at the same time will help the environment as much as we can without having chartered the ships at a significant premium in advance. Is something that we take the risk, and we hope that the market conditions will help to make our investment worthwhile. But on the other hand, we have shown this in the maximum with the commitment for the alternative fuels vessels that they're consuming alternative fuels. And as I said, it's something that we feel responsible to protect what we see around us, the environment, and especially in our part of the world that everybody comes to enjoy the sea and climate. We are used to crisis and we are used to navigate with rough seas. For us it's challenging, and at the end of the day we find our way, and not only to navigate in the rough seas, but also to take advantage of specific conditions and make our investment worthwhile. Let's face it, we see that the passage from Suez Canal is restricted, and we have to go around the Cape. This provides a lot more miles, and of course this is something that benefits our industry. On the other hand, we have to be extremely cautious for our crews and the people who work with us and the cargoes that we carry, and not take unnecessary chances. So from the very beginning we choose to go around the Cape and not put our crews at risk. I was extremely happy, myself and my colleagues, to see this reception today. Very crowded, a lot of attendance, and that shows that we have interesting things to say, and there is a lot of appetite around shipping and what is going on in our industry, which is always very pleasant for us.
We are the drivers, the truck drivers. We buy the best available. So it is upon engine makers, ship builders, to design and deliver ships that can be more and more environmental friendly, and to the fuel producers to have the fuels that are less pollutant, with lesser impact, and the charterers to be willing to pay for it. So far, there is no anything available apart from LNG. That's why all the alternatives are talking about LNG. All the rest is futurology. And we are in business, we are not in science fiction. The characters of individual owners, and especially Greek owners, is not such to consolidate. We cannot consolidate between us within a family. So let's alone consolidate with people from different areas and so on. So consolidation, if can be done, is forceful consolidation and only economical terms. The rest is just wishful thinking. The change of energy mix is a voyage, it's not a switch. It's a long, long voyage that they say 2050, maybe it is 2060, nobody knows. Maybe it's a breakthrough and comes much earlier, but definitely every effort worth trying, but we are also running a business. We are not running a laboratory. Always Capital Link is bringing a chance to air ideas and people to participate. And for shipping is a good thing because we had an attitude to keep our heads like the ostriches inside the ground, although having our back outside, so our bottom. So now it is good that we air all these ideas and all these problems, and people and the general public to understand it is not like Konstantinos films to do this business.
Today we are at the start of the journey really because this is a big challenge. We need to have lower carbon fuels, we need to have new technologies made available to the shipping industry in order to achieve this net zero target. And I would say that the panel today showed us that it's really challenging from a ship owner perspective because a lot of uncertainty on the technologies, a lot of uncertainty on the economic equation side of things. And so this is really the start of the journey. A lot of efforts are required still. As a fuel supplier, I must say that we have not come to that point of choosing the fuel of the future. We come from an industry that has a very simple fuel system using the heavy fuel oil available worldwide, any parts of the world, and very simple logistics associated to this fuel. And I think we should all realize that the world or the economy will not be able to invest in 2 or 3 different fuel supply systems for its shipping industry. So there will need to be a choice at some point because we cannot simply afford to triple the investment in the infrastructure. Unfortunately, we have not reached this point. There are still a few options on the table, and we have not yet been able to find which will be the most affordable fuel for the future, meeting the net zero targets that the world has set for itself. The fuel that we can use today in order to progress in this target is the LNG, and we already have the infrastructure available for LNG as a marine fuel. And so this is why, as Stylianides, both on the shipping side and on the fuel provider side, we are continuing to investing big on the LNG dual fuel fleet. I was impressed by the great quality of the panel and the huge attendance, and for first participation this was a great success to me, so I hope I will come back for a next panel.
Thank you, first of all, very much for having us here at the 9th Capital Link Forum, which was a tremendous event with great networking opportunities, but also with a very interactive panels here. And as I stated just before, there were 2 panels which actually were the highlight for my day, and that's of course the last panel with, I would say, a lot of the big Greek ship owners stating what they think are the best fuels of the future and how that will affect their future investments. But also for me is the panel where the next generation was actually saying how is it to be the 3rd or 2nd generation taking over from your father here in Greece. Which also highlighted the importance of seafarers in our industry. Because for me, the seafarers are key in the whole energy transition, and we need to upskill them and reskill them. That is one of the priorities actually of the EXA, together with digitalization and of course the whole energy transition. Also from an EXA point of view, EU ATS is being embraced also by the Greek community, which was great. And even more important, we all agree that as soon as the IMO will adopt and put new regulations in force, the EU will hopefully take a step back so that we avoid a double taxation, which is all related to regulations and the importance of good regulations and practical regulations. So from our side, it is important that the energy transition is only possible if we have all hands on deck. And all hands on deck means not only the ship owners, it's our governments, it's the manufacturers, it's the energy producers, and we need the infrastructure in place. Otherwise, an energy transition will be challenging, but we faced many more challenges in the past and we always overcome them. So that would be my addition to this Capital Link event.
We concluded with amazing success today, the 9th Capital Link Maritime Leaders Summit, Greece. Essentially, we kicked off the Poseidonia Week. We are particularly proud to be part of to be a Poseidonia conference program. And Poseidonia is an amazing gathering, the global gathering, as the world comes to Athens to interact with the Greek shipping community that has a leading position in global shipping. Today we had with us an amazing lineup of speakers from the Greek shipping leadership as well as international leaders. We had over 1,000 attendees, but what really counts is not the quantity, is the quality of the audience. And with an amazing lineup of speakers, we tackled all the critical challenges that the industry is facing today. By the way, the title of the conference is Leadership in Action. And exactly, the Greek shipping community, Greek shipping is the world leader, and therefore we had the opportunity to share into the insight of industry leaders whose actions, vision, and insight make a difference on a global scale. And of course, they were complemented by a number of international peers. The topics that dominated the agenda today were clearly technology and above all decarbonization. It's very interesting that the Greek shipping community, Greek ship owners are leading the pack also in terms of new buildings, and it was particularly interesting to see the alternative approaches that they have in terms of fleet optimization, new fuels, new buildings, and so on. We also had a great panel regarding energy security, energy transition, LNG, and a panel that discussed how the younger generation is taking Greek shipping to the next chapter. So overall, and of course we were gratified that the Minister of Shipping opened the conference. Again, it was an amazing event. Tremendous insight. I think it was a packed room throughout the day. And I think if you count, how many, the percentage of the global fleet represented in today's conference, it was really a very significant number. So I'm happy and I'm looking forward to the 10th one, 2 years from now.